Hello everyone, I have a lot to cover in this video because I've got a lot of WWE material to talk about because for the first time in 2020, I actually watched both this week's Raw and this week's Smackdown. I watched them both, and like I said in my previous video where I talked about this, I'd heard about some of the things that they were doing, like Raw Underground and Retribution and all this other stuff. I was like, that sounds intriguing. I'll check it out just to see what's up. So I decided to watch both Raw and Smackdown this week. Now granted, with Raw, I didn't watch it the night of. I watched the shortened version that's on Hulu. I find Raw is a lot more digestible when you watched the cut version on Hulu. It's a lot easier to digest when it's only an hour and a half as opposed to 3 hours with commercials. So that was my course of action there. But I have my thoughts on both shows and the main things coming out of both shows. And with all of that, I'm also going to do previews and predictions for NXT TakeOver 30 and Summerslam 2020, both of which are happening next week. So you'll get my thoughts on those as well. But let's get started on Raw. Big takeaways from this. I actually really liked the Orton-Flair segment. Randy Orton is one of those guys, and I've said it before, like his in-ring style and everything that he does, you would think he'd be one of my favorite wrestlers on the planet because he just has a style that I really enjoy. The problem with Orton is that I can absolutely tell when he doesn't give a shit. And when he's sleepwalking through a match, it's just fucking obvious. Kevin Nash always had that reputation. It was like, you can tell when Nash doesn't care. And Orton is like the new generation version of that, where it's like, oh, I can totally tell when Orton just does not give a shit. And he's just sleepwalking through it. But on the flip side of that, when you give him something that he can sink his teeth into and something that he's excited about, he typically comes through, and I think this is a good example of that. I thought the segment with Flair came off mostly really well. I think it was very emotional, and of course, Orton turned on him. Now, there's some, screwiness with the continuity because Flair turned on him, back when Evolution was first around, and Flair turned on him and sided with Triple H, and Orton made it sound like they'd been friends the entire time. I'm like, well, if you follow the storyline, that's not entirely true, but minor nitpicking. Other than that, I thought the segment came off really, really well. And I also like the Dominic-Seth Rollins stuff. I'm a little intrigued to see what we get out of Dominic. And Seth Rollins beating the crap out of him. By the way, Seth Rollins, you can knock him all you want. He's way better as a heel than he is as a face. I'd much rather take this version of Seth Rollins over the babyface version that we had last year, and whenever he was the champion as a babyface, it's like, oh God, no, please don't do that. He's a terrible, terrible top face, but he's an acceptable heel. So that came off fairly well. And then the big one I want to talk about is Raw Underground. My first time experiencing this new concept, and it looked cool. It looked kind of neat and down and dirty, and just straight up brawling, and it looked kind of neat. The biggest problem I have with it is that it has no direction and it has no stakes. It's just kind of like, all right, jump in there and fight, guys. And that's it. There's no rhyme or reason to anything. And as far as I could tell, it's not building to anything. There's no clear-cut direction. And even the worst concepts in pro wrestling, like the Brawl for All, which had a cash prize, the 24/7 title, it's like, look, as dumb as this is, at least it's like they're fighting over a title. I know what they're fighting over. Raw Underground, I don't even know what they're fighting over. It's like, are they just fighting to get TV time? Is that it? Like the rejects that just want to prove that they belong on TV, so this was their only course of action? I don't know. I don't know what the motivation for anybody is. Nobody really stands out, at least not yet. They threw Shayna Baszler in there, and I know they threw Dolph Ziggler in there, but it's like nobody really stands out because nothing really breathes because it's just one fight happens. All right, roll in there and do the next one. And it's just kind of like, you almost can't digest all of it. It's just throwing a bunch of stuff at you, again, with no direction, no rhyme or reason, and no stakes. So I think they got a nugget of a good idea there. I think it needs to be thought out a little better. Again, giving it stakes would help. All right, what are these people fighting for? Is there a cash prize? Is there an understanding that whoever wins this gets a title or a title shot of some kind? I don't know. Will the WWE title ever be defended in the Raw Underground format? Again, who knows? That's just something, and I think this is a work in progress, and hopefully they figure some of this stuff out. But I think it looks cool. I think they need to think it out a little bit better and execute it a little bit better. But so that was my initial reaction to Raw Underground. Of course, we can't have the stripper, the dancers. We can't have those because the overly protective PC culture and the online Twitter mob has turned, they've worked so hard to replace the religious right as being the moral busybodies that try to police fun. Like they want to put their finger in your face and tell you how to have fun. The Sheldon Coopers of the world. That's an actual line from Sheldon Cooper, by the way. He once said, "They're having fun wrong." That's whenever I see people like flip out over things like, "Oh, they have sexy dancers. What is that shit?" It's like, dude, just don't tell people how to have fun. What's wrong with you, man? Be cool, man. And women watch guys with hot guys. Women watch stuff with hot guys in it all the time. I don't care. Like I'm not that insecure. Like, come on, have fun, lighten up. And if you don't like it, don't watch it. That's my attitude. But anyway, Raw Underground, work in progress, needs a lot of work, but I think there's potential there to where it can work. Will it realize it? I have no idea. So overall, like Raw, I was kind of okay with it for the most part. I liked the big stuff that they did. The two big angles, the Seth and Dominic stuff and the Flair Orton stuff. And there was a good match in there too. Well, I think it was Bayley and Asuka. They had a pretty good match. So it's, there was some good stuff. I actually enjoyed Raw. Never thought I'd say that sentence in 2020. And then we get to Smackdown, which I did not like. I didn't understand a lot of what was going on. Retribution, who was also on Raw, just randomly going around breaking shit. I know that Antifa is clearly the inspiration for this. That is obvious, as clear as day that that's the inspiration for this. But it just looks like a bunch of dudes in masks running around breaking shit. And there's no like real intrigue to it. I don't really care who's under the masks. It's almost like whenever they run out, it's almost like I feel like playing the Benny Hill theme. It just comes off as kind of silly. But maybe when they start unmasking people, it'll work. I don't know. But for right now, I'm like, whatever. It was cool to see Abyss or Chris Park on SmackDown aligned with AJ Styles. I was like, holy shit, is this TNA? Is that Joseph Park? He's the brother of Abyss. Abyss. Joseph Park, one of the most underrated characters in the last decade. I love that character a lot. Yeah, I thought he was superb at playing that character. But so I did kind of pop for Chris Park a little bit. That was neat to see. But the Women's Battle Royal was tri-branded, and I was absolutely confused of like, okay, who's on what brand? I don't know anymore. And that's what I get for not like watching week to week, but it's like, I couldn't tell you who's on what brand or what's going on anymore. It's a mess. And Alex, formerly Delixman on Twitter, tried to explain the title situation of the women, and I felt like I was getting dizzy. Like reading his explanation, it was like, wait, so she has a belt, but she's not on the same brand as that belt, and Asuka's getting a shot at both belts at SummerSlam, and I'm like, that's messy. That's like, what's the point of having a brand split? I don't know. Oh wait, I don't know at all. What's the point of having 47 belts? I don't know. It's too many belts, too many titles. The only feud I kind of enjoyed, like angle storyline development, I kind of enjoyed on SmackDown was the Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville stuff. I'm like, that's at least like a basic kind of low card, mid card feud that I can understand and follow. And it's like, all right, the friends turned enemies thing, and now they're gonna have a hair versus hair match, which was set up based on the angles on TV. And I'm like, yeah, I dig it. Mandy cut a decent promo, talking about how people look down on her because she's a bikini world champion or whatever. It's like, hey, that's hard. That is actually really hard. No joke. I work out, and it's hard to look good with in a swimsuit. It's really, really hard. Like, I'm still self-conscious about it. So, if you can get yourself to look that good and look in shape, more power to you. So, I thought her promo was pretty good. I think the story's pretty good. So, of all the things I could criticize, that was one thing that kind of worked for me. And the closing segment, I still don't know what happened. Again, this is probably a symptom of me not watching the show week to week, but the whole Braun Strowman, Alexa Bliss, Fiend thing, I'm like, wait, did they just do a double turn with Braun and the Fiend? what's going on? Like, what is happening right now? I don't know, and I don't care. Let's put it that way. It's like, ugh, whatever. I think we were all hoping that The Fiend would be the new Undertaker, and I think he's kind of become the new Kane, where he's going to be over no matter what they do with him, but most of what they do with him is going to be insane garbage. Like, I mean, Kane has been a part of some of the worst storylines in wrestling history, but the character survived somehow, some way. I mean, Katie Vick, that definitely comes to mind. The Embrace the Hate storyline, the relationship with Tori, which I never got behind, that whole Beauty and the Beast thing. Although the feud with X-Pac that stemmed from it was okay. Even though it didn't get the payoff it should have at WrestleMania. Kane has been a part of some of just the worst. Undertaker in the vegetative state. It's like, Kane, we know you did it. Stop. Stop this angle. Kane's, the Wedding from Hell's, and that one was so bad it was hilarious. The shit with Lita and Matt Hardy. I was laughing hysterically when they were doing that stuff. That was great because of how bad it was. And through all the dumb stuff they've done with him, Kane stayed over. I think The Fiend is going to be like the new version of that, where no matter what dumb shit they do with him, he's going to stay over to some degree. So it's like, whatever. And The Fiend is at least a character. It's like, well, unlike the first version of Bray Wyatt, at least this guy's going to win most of his matches. So, there you go. You got that. So, SmackDown didn't really do it for me. Got to be honest. I actually enjoyed Raw more this week. Am I going to continue watching both Raw and SmackDown? Probably not. For 1 week, I was like, all right, this is a different experience for me. It's back to watching, main roster WWE. It was a thing. The commentary is still obnoxious, but hey, what can you do? So with all that said, let me get into previewing next week's big shows. We've got NXT's 30th TakeOver special coming up, which is insane to me. That's like, wow, has it really been 30? But yeah, feels like yesterday I watched the very first one. And I didn't watch Arrival first. I watched the very first TakeOver first. So, but man, it's been a long road, and they have yet to make a bad one. So we'll see how this one goes. But going over the card, we've got a ladder match for the the vacant North American Championship, which was the belt was forfeited by Keith Lee after he won both belts. Right now we have Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, Cameron Grimes, and then 2 matches will determine the final 2 participants. It's Johnny Gargano versus Rich Holland and Finn Balor versus Velveteen Dream. I imagine that the 2 losers will probably go on to have a singles match on this card, because right now there are only 4 matches. They'll probably want a 5th one on there just to fill it out. It'll be a ladder match. It'll be a car wreck. We know how these matches go. Who's going to win? I don't know. I actually don't know who they'd give it to. Probably, if I had to guess, I think it'll probably be Gargano versus Balor in the singles match that I just talked about. So now it's like they might just give it to Velveteen Dream. Who knows? We'll see. The recently returned Velveteen Dream, I should say, came back to NXT TV this week. Then we have, for the women's title, we've got Io Shirai versus Dakota Kai. I would keep the belt on Shirai. She's the best lady they've got right now. Keep the belt on her. Then we've got the match that I talked about previously, Adam Cole versus Pat McAfee. I like the idea of having wrestlers interact with outside personalities, and this could be good. My biggest issue with it is that I just don't care about Pat McAfee. That's my biggest problem. It's like, he's not like Mike Tyson or Dennis Rodman, which are the 2 examples I keep going back to, or Mr. T back in the 80s. Like, he's just not that cool or interesting. He's just a guy that has a show on ESPN and was a football player. And it's like, I don't really care. I just don't really care. But Cole might be able to make this into something entertaining. Not saying it won't be good or entertaining or anything. I'm just saying, I just don't, of all the outside personalities they could have gotten, although in the COVID era, you're probably limited on who you can get. So you get whoever's available, I guess. But Adam Cole will probably win this if I had to guess. But maybe they can make this into something fun. We'll see. And then we've got the main event for the NXT Championship. Keith Lee defending against Karrion Kross. I can't believe they're doing this already. This feels a little quick. You would expect this to have come maybe at the end of the year. But God, is there a possibility that Karrion Kross might win? I don't know. I mean, he's kind of been tearing through everybody. I mean, he squashed Tommaso Ciampa. And when I saw that, I was like, holy shit, they must be serious about this guy. And, I'm hoping we get like a good knockdown, drag out, beat him up type of heavyweight match out of this. I think it could be fun. I'm going to pick Keith Lee to retain, but I wouldn't be surprised if Karrion Kross won the title. So we'll see how that goes. So that is NXT TakeOver 30. Should be very interesting. When is that? That is August 22nd. So that is Saturday of next week. So they're going to be going up against AEW Saturday Dynamite. That's interesting. There won't be a ratings comparison because the TakeOver special is going to be on the network, but it'll be very interesting to see what Dynamite's ratings are and see if that, because it's a bigger show for NXT, if they're able to draw a lot of viewers away, and Dynamite's on a night that it's normally not on because of the NBA playoffs. It'll be very interesting to see how that situation goes. Then we have, let me pull up the card. We have SummerSlam, which is going to be on the 23rd. And we've got 8 matches lined up for that one so far. Let's go down the list. We've got, for the tag team champion, the Raw Tag Team Championship, the Street Profits defending against Andrade and Angel Garza. I don't even know what's going on there. I couldn't even tell you. We've got Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville in the hair versus hair match, which I talked about before, and it's actually like the best storyline they had going on Smackdown this week. I was like, all right, that worked for me. Then we've got Apollo Crews versus MVP for the U.S. title. We've got Asuka challenging for both the Raw and SmackDown Women's titles matches titles champion. Okay, Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships in 2 separate matches. There, I said it. Asuka will be challenging both Sasha Banks and Bayley in separate encounters. If you're going to ignore the brand split, and you're going to have 412 belts, you can do cool stuff like this once in a while where Asuka gets a title shot against both of them, and she is like motivated by them basically ousting her former partner Kairi Sane out of the company, so there's a little bit of a motivation there. So, it's an interesting situation. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. Then we have, what else? We have the street fight between Dominic Mysterio and Seth Rollins, Dominic's in-ring debut. I'm actually very intrigued to see what we get out of Dominic here. It'll be very interesting. And I think Seth will make this into something worth watching. And then the two big boy belts, we've got Drew McIntyre defending the WWE Championship against Randy Orton, who might win if he continues delivering like he did on Raw this week. Randy might get the title here. And it seems like they want to have the storyline of who breaks Ric Flair's record first. And Orton's close to it, Cena's close to it, Triple H is close to it, and Triple H and Cena aren't active, so it's like they might push that with Randy Orton. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then for the Universal title, we've got Braun Strowman versus The Fiend. I don't care. I just straight up don't care. The storyline, I'm not digging it. I don't care. I just, whatever. And it's a shame because I like both guys, but it's just, you created a situation where the storyline just kind of kills the entire thing for me. So what are you going to do? But anyway, that is all I wanted to talk about in this video. Again, a lot of WWE because, when you watch Raw and SmackDown, you have a lot more to talk about, I guess. So hopefully you all enjoyed it. Continue to support the channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below. Hit the little bell icon so you get notified when I post new videos. And be on the lookout for more because I've got more coming out for you. But that is all I have for you now. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you all later.